When I was in high school, I used to take the city bus home from school because I technically lived out of the school district, far from my high school, and I also lived at the very end of town. So, I got off at the last stop, and I was the only person who got off at my stop, like ever. And one day there were these two men in the back of the bus, and I had never seen them before, and I don't know why. I just got like a weird vibe about them, but I had no real reason to. They looked like they were laborers. They had kind of like construction clothes on. And I told myself I was just being weird. And then they got off at my bus stop, and again, I was like the only one to ever get off of this stop. So I'm like, okay, this is strange, but there's also a shopping center there. So like, I don't want to assume that I'm the reason they're getting off. They probably have to shop, right? So I kind of considered just going into a store and like calling someone to pick me up, but I didn't. I'm like, you know what, whatever. I'm just gonna walk home. It's not far. It's a couple blocks. I started walking, and these guys did not go into the store. They start going down the same street that I was going, which is weirder to me because if we lived in the same neighborhood, I would have seen them get off on the bus before, and the neighborhood's only residential from here on out. It's like really a small part of town where I lived. But I don't know what to do at this point, so I just kind of kept walking. But then, I expect that they're going to turn off into the other residential neighborhood, but they didn't. They just kept going where I was going, and all of a sudden, this car pulls up next to me, and it was a little old lady, and she's got like a small toy poodle in her lap. She was like, hey, can you help me? I need directions. And I was on the sidewalk. She was kind of far from me. And I'm like, sure, where do you want to go? And she's like, hon, can you come up to the window so I can show you where I need to go? So I did. I walked up to the window, and I'm like, yeah, what's up? And she's like, look, I don't like the way those guys behind you are looking at you. I will take you wherever you need to go. Just get in the car right now. And I would normally never do this. I would normally never get into a car with a perfect stranger. But like the fact that I had them on my radar the entire time, and now this lady was just driving by, and she was so concerned for me that she pulled over and asked me to come to her. I was like, fine, I'll get in the car. I hopped in. She did take me to my house, which is just a couple blocks away, and she's so sweet. She's like, I have daughters and granddaughters. I would want somebody to do this for them. I just wasn't comfortable with the way that they were looking you over. So I'm not saying I would have been kidnapped. I'm just saying there were two of us that got that vibe. And thank God she pulled over and took me to my house, because who knows what would have happened. The one thing we desperately need to teach young women is to trust their instincts, because everything else we teach them sometimes flies away after not listening to their gut instincts. I ignored every instinct. I didn't want these guys to think that I was judging them. I was being rude. I wanted to seem nice. I've also been told to be humble, basically my whole life. And I told myself, like, these guys are not coming to kidnap me. I'm not the center of the universe. I'm not this important. This isn't about me. When we tell young women to be nice, to be humble, to stay out of people's ways, and to not be a problem, we're telling them to ignore their instincts when those instincts say this is about you. And you do need to be rude to get out of this situation. It sounds crazy that I wouldn't want to offend two strange men who are making me really uncomfortable. But I didn't want to. And sadly, this is what happens to so many young women when we tell them to be nice and polite. You are the regulator of other people's feelings. I made mistakes, but so many young women do because we don't say you are important. Other people's feelings are not more important than your feeling and safety. You have to trust those gut instincts. We teach basically the exact opposite of that to young women and young men, and now obviously as a 40-year-old woman. I would never make the same mistakes again. Please subscribe to receive updates when new Storytime videos are released.